Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Harvell with Wessler Engineering. I am the INAFSM Stormwater Committee Chair. I also have Staci Goodwin, the MS4 Coordinator with IDEM, attending the session also for some Q&A for us to get through this process. This is really just an informal kind of informational session on the MS4GP Notice of Intent and public notice process. If you have questions as we go along, please put them in the chat, or you can save them till later. So our first slide, if I can get my stuff going on here, right? There we go. So the first part is the NOI for existing MS4s. Yep, sorry, still trying to get my PowerPoint going. So the effective date of the MS4GP was December 18th, 2021. And in order to kind of convert that over from the Rule 13, you're required to do one of three things within 90 days. So you have to submit NOI per Section 6, notify IDEM in writing to terminate your permit coverage if it no longer applies to you, or submit an individual NPDES permit application. Now, we had the form, the NOI form was available on March 22nd, and our initial 90 days was then June 20th. However, there was a couple of hiccups with the form. So Staci and IDEM delayed it until July 5th. So July 5th is the due date for the MS4GP Notice of Intent form. For new MS4s, the original, I believe the way the permit read was if you had to submit it no later than 90 days from the effective date of the permit. However, those MS4s the new MS4s had not been notified yet. Now, Staci, please chime in if you guys have moved that process up, or have they been notified?
They have been notified. Brandy and I will be sending out an email to my group of MS4s this week to let them know the names of the new MS4s. They have 365 days from the date that they were notified to get us an NOI.
Okay, so they're in this, the new MS4s are on this bottom timeline then.
Right.
Okay, great. Now, going through the form, some of it's going to be pretty basic. We're not going to cover on those basic items, kind of just breeze through those, but others we'll spend a little bit more time on. As far as the application type, obviously initial NOI is for the new MS4s. Existing will go under the renewal NOIs. And then can't stress this enough, the operator, the MS4 operator is the highest elected official for your MS4, whether that's a mayor or a town councilman, county commissioner, whatever that is, it's the highest elected official. And then obviously under the MS4 coordinator will be the person who is in charge of most of the administration of the MS4GP. Next part are other contacts, and this will be if you have someone else preparing the form or if you have a consultant. So you would just list that information. Yep. Part D is, again, some basic information on your receiving waters, the coverage area of your MS4, general population, and really that's probably just a Google answer. Do you want official census population, Staci?
The population is since we just had a census, I would use that. But if it has changed since the census, then use the more updated information.
Okay.
To give us the most accurate that you have, because a lot of our areas are growing pretty quickly.
Gotcha. As far as funding sources, you know, if you have a stormwater utility or fees, anything like that, you'll do a general description for how you collect fees and how you will fund your stormwater program. As far as administration of the MCMs, if you're not the main administrator, you would list that person. So anytime you would have maybe a separate administrator is if you would have some type of agreement, like a formal agreement that maybe an SWCD or someone else would administer that whole side of the program. I would say this is not considered if you're just partnering with other MS4s in your area. It was just if that person, that entity is in charge of it. That's be correct, Staci?
Yes, this is to show a formalized process. They are the ones doing the work for you. It would be for partnerships where you are all working as a piece of it.
Okay. And then part E down here is if you have any other MS4s permitting, if you guys are permitting yourselves together. So if you have co-permittees, this is just a general list of who that would be. And then there's a form towards the end of the notice of intent that each co-permittee would need to fill out. So as far as part F, it is general information on the watersheds or the HUC codes within your MS4 area. So, and then this would also be anything associated with co-permittees HUC codes. So you want to use the Indiana map under the hydrology, watersheds, and use the HUC 12 2009 layer. The primary, this number 2 here, needs to match the primary watershed that we were talking about in the section above. And also here is how you would gain that information as far as the code from Indiana map. The next part is the receiving waters, and you have to list all separate stormwater system outfall receiving waters. So you're going to identify your receiving water. You're going to identify if it has a TMDL, and then you're going to identify if it is on the 303D list. And there's a couple different options for the 303D list, but use the 2018 layer on the Indiana map. That is the one, Staci, in some previous conversations we had together, that's the one IDEM's looking for.
That's the one that's currently available. They are in the process of updating to the 2020. So when that's available, use it, but it is not currently available online. Okay.
Thank you. For the TMDL, there is the website provided there, or you can just search TMDL on IDEM's website. The online tool, the E303D mapping tool, it's a good resource, but again, it's kind of older data. So that's why we're making sure everyone's using the 2018 data on the Indiana map. So the next part is, do any outfalls within the MS4 discharge to another MS4 conveyance? Now, when I initially went through this, I kind of I picked McCordsville as just a random sample, and I was like, oh, wow, they're kind of surrounded by, you know, Lawrence and Fishers and Hancock, and then there's an MDOT in there in Indianapolis, phase 1. So how does that work? How much do you have to actually identify? You only want to list a conveyance that directly discharges into another MS4's conveyance. So only identify that MS4 that you are directly discharging into. Okay, so public notice. So we have a couple of different options in the new MS4GP on how we can do a public notice. Now we're all kind of familiar with posting language or publishing language in the local newspaper, and we still can do that, and you only have to do that for 1 day. The other option is to post it on your MS4 webpage, like a community calendar or maybe events or something like that. But that you have to post for 30 days. So you want to make sure you plan ahead and get that posted before your NOI submittal is due. The language for the public notice is in the permit, and here's just some, I just included some sample language for that. It's basically, you know, who you are, your address, the different watersheds, and then you want to make sure you provide some type of contact information in case someone has a question. Now, as far as the information to be submitted with the NOI, it does say that a proof of the public notice should be submitted with your notice of intent form. And Staci, do you want to pipe in on that?
That's one of the things that is in there, but a lot of times with the electronic stuff and things like that, there may be some issues trying to get things to me, is particularly for the public notice. The number one for you on of that public notice is make sure you have a copy with the NOI in your office, so that if anybody questions it or if there is ever a question, you can provide that as necessary.
Great, thank you. So you, like she's saying, you want to be sure you have that proof of public notice. So if you're putting it on your web page, you know, what are we thinking proof would be? Well, take a screenshot of the post or something that signifies, yes, it was up here, we have a picture of it, and maintain that in your records. The application fee, it's not specifically listed on the form or in the MS4GP, and I'm thinking that's just because if IDEM needs to update that, it'll be a lot easier changing in one place versus several different places. But it can be found at Indiana Code, and it is $50. And then Staci, you had sent out a while back that you can pay this online.
Yes.
On IDEM's website through online services and then the online payment options. Or I'm assuming everyone can just give an old-fashioned check too.
Yeah, both, and that's both ways. You can do it either way. We just want to give you the option to pay it online. And it also, the change this year too is everyone. So if you're co-permitted and there's 4 of you, each of you will send us $50. It won't just be $50 for the 4 of you.
Great, that's wonderful information so people understand that. And then the last item is the certification for each of the co-permittees, and that is in Appendix A of the Notice of Intent form. And we'll go through that as we go through the forms. So the certification, the language is pretty standard from what we've seen. So again, for a municipality, it has to be the highest ranking elected official that needs to sign it. So this should be the same person that you're putting as your MS4 operator. These two areas need to match. The language that maybe we're not as familiar with is what this duly authorized representative is. So you have an option under 40 CFR 122.22b for your MS4 operator to authorize maybe an MS4 coordinator or that MS4 coordinator's maybe supervisor to submit forms, to submit annual reports, to submit other information to Staci at IDEM. This does not include a notice of intent, does not include a notice of termination. Those still have to be signed by that MS4 operator. Staci, is there anything you want to add to that?
It's important that, again, it says, you know, the written authorization, it's important that the MS4, that is just part of their packet. They keep at their location that, you know, the MS4 operator has assigned this to, and normally it wouldn't be a person, it would be the job title. So it would be the MS4 coordinator or the MS4 educator or that, you know, so they can assign it to that job title.
Great. Because we know it's probably a hassle sending in information every time a coordinator changes and whatnot. So doing by the title makes it easier for everyone. The Appendix A that we were talking about, again, if you are a co-permittee, everyone you're permitting together has to do this form and fill it out and submit it with the whole package. And this is a certification statement that's saying, yes, we're here, we're joining together, we're going to do the whole permit together. The next one is the identification of who is administrating each MCM. So it does say optional. So you can add this or you don't have to. I think it might be one of those that, you know, it would be difficult because with people changing jobs or whatnot to list that individual name. But I think you can if you want to.
The only thing I would like to add here is that, and one of the reasons we've doing some of this stuff is because what we have found in some cases where an MS4 has a lead in a co-permitting, it's the other MS4s were assuming things were being done, and the lead MS4 was not doing them because it wasn't a task they were assigned or had any sort of documentation that they were supposed to be doing. So this is the intent is to try to document some of this stuff so everyone knows who is responsible. As far as IDEM's concerned, the MS4 operator is always responsible. That's who we're always going to go back to. But when there's confusion in who it's been delegated to or who in the co-permitting is doing it, that's what the intent of a lot of this is.
Okay. And then that's our quickie informational session. Do we have any questions on any of the materials we went through, or is there anything that's like, hey, I got a particular case, how do I handle that? Again, if you want to put anything in the chat, we can share that. Good. I feel like we went through everything then. All right. Well, if you do have any other questions, oh, here we go.
Oh, no. Operators don't have to be at the audits. The only people I require at the audits are the MS4 coordinator because they're the ones with all the information.
Great. If there's any other questions that maybe have not been answered, feel free to email me and I can kind of help with those or assist with those, and maybe pare them down a little bit before I have to send anything to Staci. Will you be sharing the video? Yes, we will be. I'm hoping to have it up fairly soon through the INAFSM website, as long as we don't have to do too much editing. So it shouldn't be too long, and it will be up there for quite a while, in case anyone needs to go back and reference anything. Again, if you do have any other questions, you can contact me via email, Amy H, AMYH at Wessler Engineering, WESSLER engineering.com. Will there be an SWQMP development video? We are working on our goal this year for INAFSM is to put out informational videos on each of the MCMs, kind of as we go forth and information is available, maybe any additional guidance from IDEM, just to try to get the information out there to everyone. Staci, do you guys have a timeline yet on when any type of guidance will be available?
I know we're working on that. I've been working on the clarification document, which I shared at both the INAFSM meeting, at the MS4 meeting, and at LTAP. Randy and folks are working on the guidance for the construction, and I'm not sure when that's going to be out. I know Randy's on here, but I don't know if he wants to jump in and talk about the guidance for that.
I don't know. I don't know if we knew he was going to be on, so we might know how to give him talking privileges.
Let's see. Yeah, he's on there. Let's see. Nope.
A little information on the WQCR. That's a big one. The report is due for existing MS4s by the annual report date, so the April 1, 2023 due date. Now, as you go through and update your stormwater quality management plan, you will actually need to incorporate anything from the WQCR into your management plan. So you'll kind of want to probably get it going and started as you go through the process of getting your whole MS4 program updated, but it doesn't necessarily have to be finalized and submitted until that April 1st, 2023 date. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Anything else? I will try to go through some information for the WQCR, maybe in a later informational session. And like I said, hopefully for each of the MCMs also. It's just a matter of, everyone having time to do everything. So if that's it, we will go ahead and end the session. And like we said, everything will be posted as soon as we can in case you want to reference it for later, or you can send me an email. All right. Thank you, everyone.